All right, good morning, everybody. Let me get this thing set up. I gotta make sure. I get paranoid that the stream's not working until I can see myself moving on the screen, and I do, so we are gonna get started. So this is DeFi Wednesday. It's a little bit different than the market updates because instead of looking at prices, we're instead going to be looking at the results of my Flare spreadsheet, but we're also going to basically talk about, what is a good DeFi option for you to get in? How do you even do it? If you guys have questions, ask me and we can go through actual tutorials of how to set things up. That's really what the main purpose is here. Until people hop in and the chat gets moving, I'll just hop in. I'll start talking about my Flare data set. And for those people watching the live playback, this will be a lot of really good info that will kind of show you the magic of yield. So let me get my screen set up here and we'll jump in. So this is my Flare data set. If you've been watching these videos before, you've definitely seen it. So I won't necessarily give a whole overview. I just want to say the price of Flare has been moving back up again. So when I started this spreadsheet back in February, you can see here in column N, hopefully on your screen, the font's not too small. But you can see here in column N, in fact, let me just zoom in on this a little bit. I think, oops, I didn't want to hit the plus button. Now I know on Microsoft Excel, there's just a slidey bar where you can zoom in. Not sure if Google Sheets quite has the same thing. So maybe I just, yeah, there we go. Did that actually do anything? Well, hopefully you guys can see the font. I hope it's not too small for you. You can see when I started this thing out in February, Flare was actually almost exactly at a penny, right? Right here, 0.1. Can't get closer to a penny than that. Hey, what's going on, user? So we've seen Flare's price basically go down since we started this series back in February, all the way up until right around now. We're finally starting to see things moving back up. I really want to show some emphasis that getting yield on bad, or not bad, but on like during bear markets is something that can be a slingshot that really sends you forward. And we're starting to see at least some good data elements that can show that. So right now, as of at least yesterday, Flare's price was at 0.0862. So I'm going to scroll up and see if we can find that exact match up above, or at least something close to it. So here's a good one. Let's see here, what day would this have been? On March 16th, all right, St. Patty's weekend, we would have had Flare at 0.0884. And now that I think about it, I added some Flare in here just shortly after that. You can see my total Flare was 200,000, then I went to 252. Let's see if we can pull one from after that effect. So let's just go with March 18th here. That was the day after I put my last thing in. I got into Scepter on March 18th. That's the last time I've added to this spreadsheet. And I think Scepter is where I'm going to hold things off. From this point forward, I'm only running what we've got here until August. And then we'll kind of start over. And then we can do a lot more different things. But I want to make sure that the data is kind of clean and easy to read. So March 18th, we've got a 0.00832 price on Flare. With 250,000 contributing principal into this, we've had some yield already generated at this point. I had $2,097. So let's just punch that into the calculator so that we can save that for later. So we've got $2,970 on March 18th. I have not added another penny into this portfolio. Everything here is just yield. As of yesterday, and by the way, I think this price is actually a little bit under. Let's just take a quick look at that. I might even just kind of snip it with my screenshot tool just so that we can really hold on to that. So yeah, where is that little guy at? It's actually really good data here. Let's just grab the whole bar. There we go. All right, so you can see on this snip, the price was at 00832. So that was actually a little bit lower than what it is right now. Coming down here to modern day, let's see what the best way to stick this little guy in there. So you can see at 00862, I'm at 2,194. So even though the price is actually, oh wait, no, this price is a little bit higher, but point still stands here. Without me having to really make any drastic changes, I am up, let's just punch that in. I'm up $97. Now I know the price right now is slightly ahead of where it was back on March 18th. Hopefully the price doesn't go down by too much more so that we get those exact prices. By the way, prices have been kind of moving back downwards the past 2 days. I'm sure you guys have seen, but on Monday's market stream, we were all very excited. Lots of very, very, very positive forward movement. Some of that has come back down a little bit. It has not maintained those, you know, for example, XRP is not currently at a $1.50. In fact, we got this right here in the spreadsheet. On May 9th, XRP was $1.50. Yesterday went down to $1.42. Now I believe today it's at $1.44. I'm just going to take a quick gander at this. May as well log today's data. Yeah, so yesterday we actually saw it at $1.46. This morning hit that low point of $1.42. So I might have punched in yesterday's price wrong. So let me just make sure that that's correct. Oh, I might have accidentally skipped a day here. So here's what we'll do. We'll update that little box because that's actually not right. But it is right that today it is at 143. That part is accurate. So we've seen a little bit of pullback market wide. We won't really talk about that in today's stream. However, I will pull up at least Flare on CoinMarketCap so we can take a quick look. You know what's interesting? Flare's actually held on to its gains, whereas a majority of the market had some pullback over the past 48 hours. Flare's one of the few chains that really hasn't had a pullback. I mean, it's not at its weekly high, but it's certainly not down multiple percent like some other chains are. I think that's pretty cool. Nonetheless, let's log this in the box while we're fresh and looking at it. So we're looking at an 87. Was that a 0? Sometimes my spreadsheet doesn't like zeros, so we're just gonna round it up to round it up to 1. I'm sure at some point today it'll hit that. And so, you know, we're seeing, oh no, I put 0.9, not 0.8. Let's definitely fix that. There we go. All right, now we're good. So we're seeing Flare starting to rise up again. Maybe not at crazy breakneck speeds, but progress is progress. I'll take an 11% week. You get multiple of those in a row. Not saying that's going to necessarily happen, but if you did get that to happen, you'd see Flare above a penny in really short order. So excited for that, as long as Flare's price doesn't continue falling back down, which I guess right now it is actively moving downward. But if it doesn't go too much more further down before going back up, we could start to see Flare's price really start to appreciate. And I think that's what a lot of us would love to see. Millpower says to invest into Incan spreadsheets. That could definitely be a thing, or I could just pony up and get the Microsoft suite on my personal computer, which I don't know why, but Microsoft products are just outrageously expensive. So that's why, you know, I've got this computer. I usually use a MacBook. I do my streaming on a PC because it just seems like a PC handles streaming better than a MacBook does. It's got more ports. You know, you get a MacBook, it comes with 2 ports. Not going to work when you're a streamer. You got multiple cameras, lights, You've got microphones, all kinds of gadgets that need to go into a lot of different ports, and that doesn't seem to really play well with the MacBook. I mean, you can get a docking station for sure, but then you've got just one more layer of connectivity if the dock's not properly synced, and then you guys get it. So let's just update my spreadsheet real quick. We'll see what's moved overnight. You know, it is 9 a.m., so I haven't logged any of these for the day. FXRP have been getting a little bit of movement here. This thing seems to have been picking up a little bit. So, oh, I think I screwed, damn it, I did screw that up. Sometimes I'm going to be honest with you guys, sometimes I log the wrong number. Here on the pools tab, you have over here your claimable rewards. I've got 1.05 FXRP generated, but there's a little small number below it. That's my total FXRP on the wallet. And sometimes, you know, when I'm running through and punching these in, I make the mistake of penciling those in instead of the true value. So I might have to go back and revise some of these. There we go. My bad, you guys. So maybe maybe the pool actually hasn't been taken off as much. We do have a full FXRP generated from the collateral pools. I'm not really that impressed with it though. Some people have asked me about doing this. I personally wouldn't. I don't think that with what I've got so far with this data, I think the collateral pool, while it's still better than just wrapping, I don't think that it's been as lucrative as I'd like it to be. By the way, I don't really wrap my flare and delegate anymore. I either stake or I put the flare into either a liquidity pool like you might see on Kinetic, or I'll stick it into Scepter. Nothing wrong with wrapping. You still get like a 5 to 8% depending on who you go with. But there's options out there available to us that might not have maybe not have been there this time last year. So I think a lot of us were wrapping, but I think there's better options out there now. So it's not something that I really am doing outside of this experiment. And once this video series finishes, the only time I'll have wrapped flare is if I'm claiming a staking reward or if I'm getting emissions from any of my other opportunities. Outside of that, I'll be moving probably 95% or more of my flare into something else. So I could move it into Scepter. I could stick even more of it into, well, I can't put more into Anchor right now, but I could pick another provider to stake on the Flare network with, keep getting those 12 to 15% rewards. But I kind of like what's going on with Scepter. I kind of want to see what I can do with those double dippings. I made a video on that earlier in the week. I think if you haven't seen it yet, I highly recommend it, because I'm not giving necessarily the double dipping a full endorsement, but what I will say is that you can get 18 to 20% through double dipping. Now it's going to be adding a lot of risk, okay? So don't think that this is all just, you know, free money that's being handed out. And if you're going to double dip, and I myself probably will double dip just because, you know, I'm a risk taker. It's what I like to do. If you're not a risk taker, just understand that when you double dip, you've got two layers where things could go wrong. You know, I don't represent Scepter, so I don't know. Are they going to be here in 20 years? I don't have a good answer for that. If Scepter at any point goes down, those SFLR tokens basically, I don't even know what happened. Could you even still transact with them if there's no platform that supports it? It could be something that it's kind of like a brick sitting in your wallet. You've got this thing, but you can't do anything with it. That's a real concern, a real possibility. And so that's a layer of risk. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm saying that it's something that could happen. And as long as that could happen, it has to be factored into your risk assessment. And then if you're going to double dip these things, oh, by the way, let's just log this figure real quick so that did I already log it? I'm having deja vu here. No, I didn't. Okay, here we go. So if I go and double dip, right now the best options for SFLR happen to be on SparkDex. So if I go to SparkDex and I double dip, let's say SparkDex goes down. Well, now I've got to worry about getting my SFLR out of SparkDex. That could be a problem in itself. So I would just say if you're going to do this, start small. You know, only put in what you're comfortable putting in, but do recognize right now SFLR to Flare Ethereum going for 12%, right? So that's actually a lot larger than what it was last week when we last looked at this. If I'm looking at Scepter's main page, current APY is 11.12%. So let's just punch that in the calculator real quick. You could go and put this into Flare ETH. I'm so tempted right now. I actually kind of want to put a little in. I'll have to do that on a different wallet. I'm still thinking of the best way to do this because I don't want to mess with the current data I've got on this spreadsheet. But this wallet's the only wallet that currently has any Scepter on it. So thinking about what to do there. But nevertheless, we're looking at this in real time. You could get a combined total of 23.36% yield. Are these figures going to stay this way? Probably not. But at least, like, as we live and breathe during this reward cycle, you could be getting 24%, which is actually pretty wild. So there's a lot of power here, but there's a lot of risk. It's something that you would have to really make sure that you're comfortable with doing before you do it. So I can't give it a full endorsement. However, I can absolutely say that I'm interested. This is something I'd like to see for myself. Is this really as good as it looks? Because if it is, I mean, this right here is the magic. I mean, at a 24%, oh, we can kind of round that. Let's round that down. Let's call it 23%. At 23%, you actually wouldn't need the price to ever appreciate. At 23%, you would be outperforming the regular stock market just from yield alone. Flare could stay under a penny in perpetuity, and you would still be getting really good returns. Now, if you combine that with like let's say in the next bull run, I don't want to give price predictions anymore. It always seems to rub people the wrong way. Let's just say Flare goes to 5 cents. You're not only getting a 5x on, well, really, it's more like a 6x with today's current prices. Not only are you getting that 6x on current prices, you're getting potentially 24% added into that as well. It's going to be huge if the price appreciates. If it doesn't appreciate, then you're just hanging out getting that juicy 23% if you do double dip with SparkDex. Now, I know some people have asked about Spectra. I have not gotten into Spectra yet, but let's just see what that would look like. You know, there's a lot of stuff out there, and so I'm not in 100% of the things out there. I maybe I should be. I would like to be, but the truth is I'm not in Spectra yet. But I've heard people say, hey, you can get even better value on Spectra. Let's just take a quick look and see. I don't see SFLR on this list. Oh, I do actually. It's over here. Let's just see what happens if I punch in SFLR. So, well, okay, there's no way this is right. An APY is 69%. Now, I like a good deal, but that seems like too good of a deal. I'm trying to look through this thing. Every site has a slightly different layout. And so even though they all like, I'm sure they function very similarly, but the layout here, it looks like the APY is down right here. Oh, you guys can't see it because my head's in the way. My head's in the way. Let me just move my head over here for now. I'll have to remember to move it back. If you were to put your wrap flare through Scepter into Spectra right now, it does look like they've got a 56%. Is that normal? It looks like it's just recently shot up according to this graph. I mean, as recently as quite literally yesterday. 2 days ago, it was around 15-20%. Now it's saying 70. I'm starting to wonder if I need to start a second wallet just for just for the liquidity pools, because I'm very curious about this. I want to see what can you get into that's out there. Why is that so much better than everything else that's going on right here? It does look like there's different liquidity pools out there. This one seems to be pretty steady at 15%. I'm looking at this APY, the base APY. It's this blue line. Looks like it's been pretty steady at around 10 to 15%. This little green arrow, or this little green line, kind of gets in the way. I wish I could kind of move that away, but you'd have to do your own research. This is kind of like an extra this is an extra layer, right? This is more than just buying the crypto and leaving it somewhere. You do have to have the due diligence to really go through these things. I don't know, man. I don't know if I can trust a 56%. It just seems too good to be true. But there's options out here. There's Spectra. I'm certainly looking into SparkDex myself. You've also got the kinetic markets. You've got the Mystic market. Play around with it. Look for the best provider. I'm cool with people picking whatever has the best reward. You know, I want to see all of these succeed, but I don't necessarily have loyalty to any one DApp here. So keep that in mind as you kind of shop around. By the way, I may as well log some of my other stuff. I'm on Kinetic right now. Kinetic has been doing pretty good. I've been noticing that the APY on Flare has gone up. So right now, Kinetic's APY is at 11.12%. Oddly enough, that's the same amount that you're getting on Scepter. I think that's just a coincidence. I don't think there's any significance there. But this is better than wrapping and delegating. So you would not be able to wrap your Flare and delegate and take advantage of this at the same time. You'd have to do one or the other. But if you wrap and delegate on Flare.network, you're going to get between 5 and 8%. If you not delegate, but if you stick your Flare into a pool like on Kinetic here, getting that 11%, it's just simply a higher yield. This will get locked up for a while. Thanks to Iman. If you guys don't know Iman, he comes to the channel periodically, and he's also pretty active on Twitter. I talked to him. He told me how the lockup period works. So there's a 12-month total lockup when you get your emission rewards, but they come out in percentages. So you don't have to wait 12 months to get the full lockup. There's going to be like a trickle down. Every month, a certain amount of it will get freed up. So you will be able to move those assets around, including moving the assets back into the market. So very cool stuff. But do just understand that when you wrap and delegate, it's lower percentages, but you get your reward and you can do with it what you please. With the lockup period, it is something that you're going to have to wait some time on. And that's going to be true for all of these, right? So Kinetic, Mystics, SparkDex, Spectra, they're all going to be sharing that same lockup period. So I'm going to head over to Mystic and log my values here. Let me just make sure this thing's refreshed. Sometimes it doesn't automatically update. Here we go. Cool. So there's so many options out there right now. I don't want to necessarily say one is better than the other, but we're just going to be logging things and seeing what info we can come up with and find out which one's the best. I'm sure, you know, it's kind of like horse racing, right? So some horses will fall behind, some will get ahead, and then out of nowhere, a horse that's behind is going to jump in and steal first place, you know? So something that might be the best today might not be the best tomorrow, and something that's not doing good today might really pull ahead tomorrow. So it's good to look at all of these. Looking at Mystic, we haven't poked around in this one too much. You can get actually pretty good rewards if you stick with Flare. Flare has a 10.5% reward on Mystic. Still a little bit smaller than what you're going to be getting on Kinetic, but I mean, hey, 10.5 is still very good. The FXRP has been, I have to say it's been a disappointment. I know it's a new asset. FXRP, by the way, isn't even really Flare, it's XRP, so it's going to have a different structure altogether. But it just has not had the yield that I would like to see coming from this new asset. Hopefully this improves over time, but hard to get excited about a 1.73% on FXRP. In fact, it's even worse on Kinetic at 1.1. And then if we go to SparkDex, I think FXRP on SparkDex might be even lower. If I just go back to the main pool without, oh, here we go, sorry. If I just go to the regular SparkDex site here, if I switch down to FXRP, you'll see I can make a deposit here, but like the APY is just almost non-existent. So the tools here are in place. Well, I think that in itself is pretty telling. The tools here are in place, but the yield hasn't come yet. So even with FXRP to Firelight's STXRP, you can see that there's that 0.3% APR. Nothing special there, but I do think it's pretty interesting that all of these different platforms have the rails set up. They're just not really doing anything yet. You can see, at least in this liquidity pool, there's $50,000 worth put in, total value locked. So it's not for nothing. It's just there's not enough in there yet to be getting good yield. Whereas if you look at like something like SFLR, for example, the total value locked is a little bit better. And then if you look at just wrapped Flare, the total value is like significantly higher. And I think over time, these things are just going to get better and better. The name of the game here is total value locked because, let me move my head back over while I'm still thinking about it. With the crypto industry, or whatever you want to call it, crypto markets, we see these really crazy pump cycles. Like something's going to pump, it's going to go up 20x, and then you've got about 3 or 4 days worth of opportunity to sell your bags before it crashes down like 18x. So like you really only get like a net positive of like 2x, for example. Like goes up 20x, comes back down 18, you net 2%. What a lot of people in crypto do will try to time those candles and pull everything out, take their profits, pay the taxes, and then jump back in when it's at the bottom. The problem with this is there's a few different problems with this. Problem number one, it keeps crypto this incredibly volatile space. But problem number two, on a personal level, if you don't time it right, or let's say you pull out and it just keeps going up, now you're in this precarious position where the only way to buy back in is to buy in at the higher price. And so what DeFi has done, and the real magic behind DeFi, is it incentivizes you not to sell. And so this is something, I'm happy about the yield. Of course I'm happy about the yield, but what I really, really want to see is that during the next leg of major price appreciation, instead of everything crashing back down a few days after the super pump, I'd like to see those prices stabilize. In a lot of ways, I'm waiting for crypto to do basically crypto repricing. And whether that's done organically through the markets or if it's mandated by like the BIS or by different governments, however it goes about happening, when we see the next crypto pump, I'd like to not see the crash that typically comes with it. And I think that DeFi is a big factor in why that wouldn't happen. Hopefully it wouldn't happen. we have a lot of total value locked in the Flare side of things. Not quite as much with FXRP, which is probably why it hasn't accumulated by so much. But Flare's TVL, or total value locked, I have a hard time finding the exact numbers, but Hugo tweets them all the time. The more, basically, let's put it this way: you need to have about 10% of all available supply to be locked in TVL, or total value locked, in order to start accumulating critical mass. You get around 10% adoption into DeFi, and it's like getting a foothold. It's a foot in the door. It's showing lasting potential when you get to those levels. I think Flare's TVL is getting there. I don't think it's at 10% yet. That would be around 10 billion tokens. I think it's still in the single digits, but that's across all of these different spaces. Like the thing we're looking at right now, this one's just 230K. That's for a single pool on SparkDex. You add those in with like Kinetic and Mystic, and you'll start to see it's hard to get the total number all from one spot. But if I go to here we go. Yeah, this is what I like to see. Here on Kinetic, you can see there's 76 million in total supply, or TVL, just on Kinetic. Now, I wish the other sites had a nice big infographic like this. And I wish it was easier to put them all together, but the point is there's a lot of money across all of these different spaces, and if it just keeps going up, that is going to be a very good thing for the market. Now, it looks like on Mystic it doesn't have these doesn't have the metrics yet. I think the Mystic dashboard could use a facelift, if I'm being honest. But there's a lot of these, right? You got Mystic, you got SparkDex, you got Kinetic, there's Spectra. Even Scepter has a humongous amount in TVL. Let's see, total Flare on Scepter looks to be 2.5 billion. So I mean, that's huge, you guys. Oh wait, no, yeah. Okay, right here, total supply. There is 1.3 billion SFLR. So if you add all of these together, if you add every single different stream together, we're somewhere in the high single digits of billions, I do believe, for Flare in general. I think it's gonna make it sticky. It's gonna make it something that during the next rip does not have quite the crash that we've seen. Like, we don't want necessarily a repeat of 2021. If I could grab any one of these cryptos. Let's go Sweef, for example. What we don't want, oh, this one's didn't exist in 2021. Avalanche, I think. Yeah, here we go. What we don't want is this 2021 period where, okay, rip. Okay, we're at the top, but in real time, you don't know what the top is. So you either sell here and get super lucky, or you just watch it come back down. And then by 2022, if you didn't take any gains here, you quite literally made nothing. And that's what we want crypto to move away from these patterns. I think DeFi is how it gets done. And of course, also with Clarity and the BIS, what is BIS? It's like Banking International something. Let's just look it up. BIS crypto will do it. Bank for International Settlements. There we go. So if the BIS decides that we're going to start repricing crypto, that could be another way that kind of keeps things from coming back down as well. But if it were to happen organically, it would happen through DeFi. So I haven't hit the chat here in a little bit. Good morning, GK Carmen. Hopefully that good morning wasn't too long ago. Millpower says at 23%, your account would double every 3 years. And then Bog Chungi says This has definitely got to be the best DeFi network out there. Obviously, risks are still there, but that's because it's very early stages. If you're referring to Flare, I 100% agree. There's a lot of different, platforms that you can work with. SparkDex, Spectra, Kinetic, Mystic. I think it's going to be moving targets, something that might be 50% today. It might come back down tomorrow. So just kind of be aware. I don't think those things are going to be at the crazy numbers they're at all the time. Like, I don't think you're going to always get 50% APR on Rat Flare with a stable coin, but it is what it says it is at today. How long it stays there, not sure. But this is what I like to see. This is what I want to see, right? Like, imagine if you had, let's just say you had 1 million Flare, keep things simple. You stick 1 million Flare in there. If you're getting 50% is kind of nuts. If you're getting 500,000 rewards in stable coins, then you could just cash in those stable coins as your annual income. And then without selling a single token, you can now live, well, I mean, at the price it's at right now, maybe that's not a big deal, but if Flare was also at $1, so 1 million Flare, $1, $1 million, if you're pulling 500,000 in yield, which I don't think it's going to be that high forever, this will probably come back down if we're being realistic, but you could use that as income. And Bill says, I'd like to see you do a second wallet. I'll tell you guys what, a couple months ago, Flare sent me a wallet. I haven't used it yet. Somebody made a good point in my Discord that kind of made me paranoid and said, what if that wallet wasn't actually from Flare? And I sat on that for a while. I have not used the wallet yet, but I sat on that thought for a very long time. And I was thinking, like, what if the wallet didn't come from Flare? And so I never turned it on. But if we're going to do experiments with it, if somebody scams me out of, let's just say I put 100,000 Flare on that thing, yeah, that would suck, but it wouldn't be the end of the world. So maybe I'll use the Flare wallet that was sent to me as like a demo wallet, and I would never put serious funds on it, but at least that could be a way for me to maybe have that Flare wallet be my double dip wallet. And I'll say, all right, we're going to only stick this stuff into like SparkDex and Spectra and handle it that way. And maybe I spin off a new spreadsheet for that. I think that's a good idea. Maybe that's something I could work on this week. And maybe because it's a Ledger wallet, since it's not a decent wallet, that could be an opportunity for another demo video. Bill asks, how does FXLR ETH work? I'm not sure I understand that question. What is FXLR? You wouldn't be referring to this one down here, would you? SFLR to Flare ETH. I don't know what specifically FXLR is. So I'll give you a chance. I know the streams are like 30 seconds behind for you guys, so I'll give you a chance to flesh that one out. But I do. Let's do that. I'll make another spreadsheet. We'll keep this one the way it is right now. I'll start a second spreadsheet. I'll work on getting that second wallet up and running, and then maybe we'll spin off like 100,000 Flare. I'll just go to Coinbase and buy it, and I mean, at current prices, that's like what, like $800. I feel like that's reasonable. I think I can make that work, and then we can start doing experiments with that. And hey, as long as the wallet actually really was sent from Flare, then I get to keep the tokens. Hopefully it's not a hopefully it's not a scam wallet. So thanks, by the way, to the people in the Discord for looking out for me on stuff like that. I do appreciate those kinds of things. If you are not in the Discord already, I'm going to share the link to it now. I highly recommend joining, because if you're not already in it, it's where we can talk about what we're doing. There's other people in the Discord running their own experiments. I would ask that if you do post your research, not to advertise it as something that's guaranteed. Kind of just be mindful of those things. Let me get the chat box here. Where is my chat box at? Here we go. So I don't mind if you guys post your experiments. Just kind of make sure you're not saying, hey, everybody, this thing is doing X, Y, and Z, and you should get into it. Say, this is what I'm doing. Because at the end of the day, I want to make sure that people aren't getting scammed in my own Discord. Not saying that's happened, but sometimes I got to remind you guys, hey, don't frame this as a guaranteed deal. Just tell us what you're doing, and we're happy to see your research, but don't ever talk about any of this like it's a done deal. Other than that, if you're not in the Discord, I'd be more than happy to bring you on. There's a lot of good research going on in there, and we're all basically pioneers here. We're all figuring these things out together in real time. With how new all of this is, we are quite literally trailblazers. You give this thing 2 or 3 years, more and more people are going to be getting into it. It's actually surprising how few people are into DeFi right now. There used to be on the Flare Builders site a chart, and I think they either moved it or removed it altogether. I can't seem to find it anymore. But there was a chart that showed how much Flare was being staked versus how much Flare was active. And it was like less than 10%, but I don't see the chart anymore. They might have removed it. If I don't find it in like the next 30 seconds, I'll give up on it. By the way, Flare Builders does have its own rich list. So if you were ever curious, having 1 million Flare would put you inside the top 2% of Flare holders, which is pretty cool. I don't think 1 million is really that crazy at this current price. You know, it's less than $10,000. I think right now you could get in there at around 8,000, could get you 1 million Flare. I don't think that's too hard of a target to hit. But even still, 100K Flare puts you in the top 9%. So 100K is super easy. I mean, that's like less than $1,000. I struggle to imagine people don't have $1,000. By the way, not financial advice. Entertainment, education purposes only. But I do think that we are super early in this. I don't know if anyone I don't even know if I understand how early we are. It's going to be one of those things you look back on this like 3 or 4 years from now and be like, holy shit, I can't believe we were buying Flare when it was sub 1 penny. So the chart I was looking for, I can't find it. I wonder if they've removed it altogether, but there was a chart at one point in time on flare.builders that showed how many tokens were in circulation against how many were actually being staked, and it was less than 10%. So to kind of finish things off with Bill's question here, how does the liquidity pool work on that? So let's hop back over to SparkDex. So you have these different vaults, and so basically what you're doing is you're contributing SFLR to this vault, and then if somebody on the other side wanted to take out a loan, right? I don't know, because I haven't used SparkDex as much. I do use Kinetic, so I'll just hop over to Kinetic because I'm more familiar with its dashboard. So when you add to a liquidity pool, you're supplying. So I'll throw in SFLR. It's part of the pool. Let's just say there's like 100,000 SFLR in the pool, and that might be small. Let's just say there's like 1 million SFLR. Those are all the tokens that could be loaned against. When you borrow, if you want to borrow, you have to put up your own collateral, and you can choose what asset to put up as collateral. So at least here on, I'm about to sneeze. Hold on. All right, when I announce it, it doesn't happen. When you're going to borrow, you have to offer up your own asset for collateral. So in this particular case with SparkDex, I'm putting it into a, or I haven't put it in, but I would be saying I will put up my SFLR. Somebody on the other side can borrow my SFLR with their Flare Ethereum. And so that's how that would work. And that's why you see a few different options. I could put up my SFLR and you could borrow my SFLR with your own wrapped Flare. And then if you go to some of the more common stuff like wrapped Flare, there's going to be a lot more options out there. I don't know what XVN is, but I do know USDC is a stable coin. And so someone out there could borrow Flare with a stable coin, and then vice versa. I could also get rewarded with stable coins, I think. I haven't experimented with getting a reward that isn't Flare quite yet, but I do think that that's how that would work. And so in the long run, these dexes are going to make it so that it's almost like, you guys ever seen, this is going to look really bad. You ever seen like these types of graphics where there's something on the left and something on the right, and this guy can go to all four of these, and then it's basically a web, right? There's all these different assets that can all connect to each other. This looks terrible. This right here is pure art, you guys. But this is basically how I envision DeFi working. That down the road, you got all these assets that you can supply. And then that should be a Y, not an X. And then here's all the stuff that you could borrow. So you could at some point down the road to say, you know what, I actually want to borrow. I could borrow against, I could get Flare. Maybe I got XRP. Maybe there's ETH down here. Maybe there's even Bitcoin. Let's just say, you know, I've been sitting on this Bitcoin a long time now. I want to put it to work because you previously couldn't. You say, all right, cool. I have my Bitcoin. I'm gonna get some. I'm gonna get some RLUSD. Oh, this is gonna look so bad. That's RLUSD. Let's say, you know, I got this Bitcoin. I want to get some RLUSD stable coin. So I would go as a borrower and I would get the RLUSD. Or you could say, you know what, I've got this RLUSD. It's just sitting around. I'm not getting anything out of it. Let's put it in the pool for Bitcoin. I know there's Bitcoin people out there. I think this is basically how DeFi is going to work on a very large scale. Over time, we're going to see more stuff being added. You'll probably see Solana. You'll even probably see Cardano and Dogecoin and Litecoin and Shiba coin. You're going to see all these different coins being added into this spider web of liquidity and assets that you can trade with. And when the world moves to crypto, you guys, because right now we haven't really had crypto adoption. I believe we're going to be getting crypto adoption. And I think it's probably going to happen within the next 3 years. Will that be 100% of the world's global liquidity? I don't know if I go that far, but I think eventually you do get 100% of the world's liquidity on chain. And I think all of these platforms, we're kind of testing them out before the real volume comes in. And so if we're early on this, I mean, we'll already be here when things really take off. And you'll know how to use it better than somebody who is hopping in for the first time in 2030. As long as all of this works out. That's the hope anyways. And so, you know, I'm excited for these things. I think I'm gonna spin off that secondary wallet. My next video will probably be like a unboxing slash initial setup. It's a ledger. I don't have a ledger, or I've never used one. So it'll be a good opportunity to say, hey, if you got a ledger wallet, here's how to use it. It's going to be like an evergreen video. Maybe not everybody needs to see that one, but I'll film it, I'll post it. And then the video that'll come after that, we'll spin up some Flare to throw into SparkDex and the Spectra. I'll have to think of what are good amounts to use so that we actually get some usable information out of it. I think 100,000 is probably enough. And then we'll get cracking on that. We'll probably stick some of it into Scepter as well. To wrap things up, I know this comes up a lot, so I'm just going to show it to you guys. When it comes time to get your rewards, let me log this little guy in here real quick, and then we're going to wrap the stream up. Come here. Hold on. Let me just get this thing going here. There we go. When you want to claim a reward, come to account. There's this button here to the far right that says emissions. When you come to this is where you're going to get your reward. And there's all these different projects you can pick, like SparkDex, Kinetic. You got Spectra, Mystic. So there's a few different spots. I'm only in Kinetic, SparkDex, and Mystic for now. I'm sure that'll expand over time. Now, Iman from Twitter, check him out, ask him questions if you got any. He knows the release schedule on the lockup, but you can see right now, looking at my own wallet, I've got locked funds here. I've got 1,500 Flare locked up. 360 of it is available for me to withdraw. The rest of this is all locked up, so just kind of keep that in mind. I'm not going to actually execute this transaction, but if I wanted to, I could withdraw these tokens and put them back into my main account to put those to work. The one question I have that I actually don't have an answer for is on my emissions page. Can I do something with these rat flare, or are those also locked? I don't have the answer for that. I'm going to have to talk to some of the bigger guys on Twitter and see if I can get those answers, but I'll definitely report back when I do. So that's going to be the wrap up for today's stream. We went a little longer than normal, but I feel like we were on a roll here, so definitely appreciate everybody hopping on. I'm usually really bad when it comes to doing the engagement stuff, so if you could just like the stream, we're at the end, but if you could like it, that'll at least help it get pushed out for people that watch these in the live playbacks. And with that, we'll be back here on Friday for the market recap. Hopefully, over the next 48 hours, we get some vertical movement again. And with that, I hope you guys have a good day. I don't know where you all are in the world, but it's warming up here, and I'm enjoying all the nice weather. So, going to be doing a lot of that in the near future. I'll see you guys soon. Take care.